So now we are going to discuss the next question, that is question number 4 of this chapter, and here we have to draw some diagrams. Let's read the question number 4. Draw illustrations to bring out the anatomical difference between monocot root and dicot root. Then we have to draw a diagram to illustrate the difference between monocot stem and dicot stem. As you can see on the screen, I have bought diagrams which are already made by myself only. Now we are going to label all these diagrams. So in this, you can see here on the screen we have two diagrams, and these two diagrams are of monocot root and dicot root. So basically this one diagram is representing the monocot root, whereas this diagram on the right side is representing the dicot root. Now let's just label it. So now we are going to start labeling it. The first one, we are starting it from outer to inner side. The first one structure, you can see the hair-like structure. The hair-like structure in the root you are finding is actually root hair. So these are root hairs. Obviously root hairs are going to find on roots only. In roots only, they are not going to find in stems. So root hairs are present in roots. So you can see these structures. These structures are nothing but root hairs. Right? Now let's talk about the first layer on which these root hairs are actually attached. So this layer is known as epidermis. It is epidermis. Now moving on to the next labeling, here this tissue, this whole tissue here, this tissue is known as cortex. This is known as cortex. Then if we talk about this one structure in the middle, you will see this is metaxylem. So this is metaxylem. Then again these structures you can see is phloem. These structures are phloem. So these are phloem. These are phloem in monocot roots, right? And this is your conjunctive tissue. This is your conjunctive tissue. And this whole diagram is actually representing the monocot root. So we can write here also, this is the diagram representing monocot root. Now let's come towards the next diagram, that is we have a diagram of dicot root. Now we are going to label it here. So first thing you can see, always the hair-like structures in root diagram or anatomy of root diagram, you will find root hairs. So also these are root hairs, same as the monocot root. Then this is your epidermis layer. This is your epidermis. Then you have of course cortex layer here, cortex. Then you will see this layer is endodermis. This outermost layer here you can see is endodermis. Endodermis. Next to endodermis you will find another layer which is known as pericycle. So this is your pericycle. This is pericycle, right? Now these are phloem. These are phloem, and this is your protoxylem, and the innermost, this one is representing metaxylem. One thing you have to remember is we have two types of xylem, protoxylem and metaxylem. In case of roots, protoxylem will be at the outer side and metaxylem will be at inner side. And if you talk about stems, then protoxylem will be at inner side and metaxylem will be at outer side. This is the basic difference between these. Now we have labeled both these diagrams of monocot root and dicot root. Now we are moving on to the next diagram which is depicting monocot stem and dicot stem. Here you can see this is the structure, this is the diagrams. Both the diagrams are of stems, are of anatomy of stems, monocot and dicot. This one is representing the stem of monocot and this one diagram is representing the dicot stem. Both are the stems diagram. So let's try to label. First of all, here also in these diagrams you will find hair-like structures. Now, you cannot call them as root hair because root hairs are only present in roots, of course. Then, what are these hair-like structures which are present on stem are called? These are trichomes. These are trichomes. So, we will write trichomes here. These are trichomes. Similarly, here also we will write trichomes. These are also trichomes here. Then, the first layer, extra layer present in the stem is cuticle. You must have heard about cuticle. This layer is cuticle. This layer is cuticle. Then next to cuticle, we have epidermis. We have as epidermis. So both these here in this diagram, this one layer, and in this diagram, this one layer is representing epidermal layer, epidermis. Outer to epidermis, there is presence of cuticle and extra layer, and also in the stem we have hair-like structure which are known as trichomes, right? Then if you talk about these tissues, this is chlorenchyma, right? Now, here also in the monocot stem, you will find the vascular bundles are present in a scattered way, in a scattered arrangement. So these bundles in dark color is actually representing vascular bundles, and all these are the ground tissues. Except for these tissues, we have ground tissue, and of course here somewhere we'll have pith, right? So this is the labeling of monocot stem. Now let's talk about the labeling of dicot stem. In the dicot stem also we have trichomes, which are hair-like structure present in the stem. Then we have cuticle also in this. So the first layer here is actually cuticle. This is also cuticle in dicot stem. Then the second layer next to cuticle is epidermis. Here epidermis, this is also epidermis. Then we have this layer. We have this layer as collenchyma. This one layer is chlorenchyma. Then we have a layer of parenchyma, which is a living tissue which stores food, of course. Then we have endodermis. Here this layer is representing endodermis, and these are actually representing vascular bundles in dicot stem, which is present in a ring manner or in a ring arrangement. So these are vascular bundles. These are vascular bundles. I'm writing VB, vascular bundles. Then this is your pith. Alright, so we have already labeled the monocot and dicot roots in the previous slide, and in this slide we have labeled the monocot and dicot stem. So this is how you will make the diagrams in your board exams, and with this we have completed the solution for this question.